Hello everyone, today we are going to talk about test case writing. So what is a test case, or why do we write a test case? The test case is the most important document that you are going to write as a software tester. The test case guides you while you are testing your application. So for example, you need to test the login functionality. Okay, you receive the requirements or the UI interface or some wireframes from the developer or the designer, and then you need to write test cases for them. Why? Because you need to test all the scenarios that the user might have inside this application or this functionality, which is, for example, login, register, or anything. So in our test process, like we explained earlier, we have test planning, we begin to write our test plan, then test design when we begin to write test cases, then execution when we execute these test cases and write defect reports. So today we are talking about the step which is test design. In this step, we begin to write our test cases. So at the beginning, we will learn a very basic test case. The goal of this video is to understand what are the fields that are inside the test case, how to write a test case, and then we will apply what we learned inside this video on many scenarios. So let's begin by talking first about what is a test case. A test case is a set of preconditions, inputs, actions, expected results, and post conditions developed based on test conditions. So we have a test condition first, like login functionality or verify login with a valid user. This is a test condition. Based on this test condition, we write many test cases. And the test case has many fields, a precondition, inputs, actions, and all these fields that are written inside this slide, okay? So let's begin by the first field and then see what is a test case. So the first field is the test case title. For example, like this screen, we have a design. This is not a real application. We have a design, like we said, we can test the application in a static way. So this is our UI of the application. We got it from the developer and he told us, okay, this is the login page. We have a username, a password, and a sign in button. So let's design our test cases for this functionality. So the first thing, we are inside the first test case, and this is the positive one, okay? We begin by verifying login with a valid username and password. This is the title of the test case. The title needs to be simple, but also when I read it, I understand what you are going to test, okay? Some people say the title is verify login. This is not correct, okay? Because we will have many test cases which test the login functionality. So which thing inside the login will you test? Are you going to test login with username or email, a valid username or invalid password, or leaving both fields empty? You did not specify this. So all of this should be specified in the title. So the title should give us enough information. When we read the title, I will only read the title, I understand what you are going to test, okay? This person is testing login with valid username and password. This is the first thing inside the test case. Then we have the precondition. The precondition is a condition that must be met before executing this test case. So for example, in order for me to test the login functionality, I must have already registered to the website. Okay, so inside all the test cases that are related to the login functionality, I must already have registered. So I can write, okay, step 1, register to the website, step 2, login, but this will consume a lot of time. And that's why I write the precondition, which is user is already registered using valid credentials. So this precondition is valid for all the login test cases, okay? If I'm going to test the login, any login test case, I must have already registered to the website. For example, if I'm going to purchase an item from a store, so I must have a valid credit card, which is provided to me by the developer. I cannot use my own real credit card because this it includes real balance. No, I need a fake credit card to perform actions using it. Okay, so this is the second field. Then we have the steps that will be required to execute this test case. And these steps must be very clear and informative. Like here, first step, enter a valid username. Second step, enter a valid password. Third step, click on sign in. Some people write, okay, the first step is turn on the internet. The second step is open the browser, Google Chrome. No, these are not steps, okay? We are assuming that the person who will execute the test case is a person, okay? He can think, he understands these things which are very intuitive. You don't need to tell him to turn the internet on, turn the laptop on, open the browser. No, we assume that he already opened the browser on the website, and the first step is to enter a valid username, or the first step is to open the login page, okay? And you can provide him with the URL of the login page. Okay, in the steps we need to talk about something important, which is the test data. Here we don't have a data, okay? We don't have a username or a password. I just told him enter a valid username or a valid password. This is called high-level test case. Why high level? Because I didn't tell the person who will execute the test case to use specific username or specific password, okay? In low-level test cases, no, I tell him enter a username which is 123, okay? Enter a password which is XYZ, okay? Add these 3 items to the cart. But in high-level test cases, I tell him add valid items to the cart, okay? What is the difference? High-level test cases like this one, most of the time are written before the software is ready for delivery, okay? We don't have a website, so I cannot tell him enter a valid username which is XYZ, and there is already no usernames available in the website. There is no website until now. We are still designing the test cases based on the requirements, okay? But if we have the website ready and there are some specific functionalities that we need to test. For example, I need to test what if the user added items to the cart which have a price of $99.9. Will he have or will he get a discount or not? In this case, I can use low-level test cases, okay? I tell him, okay, add items which have the price of X, okay? So this is important. Most of the time we use high-level test cases, and these are better because they leave some area or some space, okay, for creativity to the tester, okay? I let the tester think while executing the test case what is the data that he needs to use. But if this is a safety critical system, for example, I must inform him of the data that he should use. So these are the steps, and then we have the expected result. So what should happen after this test case, okay? When the user enters a valid username, enters a valid password, clicks on sign in, what would happen? Okay, the expected result is user is logged in successfully and redirected to home page, okay, or search page, or my items page, or favorites page, okay? So don't write in the expected result login is successful, okay? In the test case, we try to write many information that helps the person who executes the test case, because in many situations, the person who writes the test case is different than the person who executes it. This happens in many companies, especially in large companies. So you tell him what is the page that the user should be redirected to. For example, if I'm using Uber application, when I write my phone number, click on sign in, I go to the map, right? But if I open YouTube and write my username and password, I should go to, for example, the channels that I'm subscribed to or the trending in my country. In Facebook, I go to the news feed, and this news feed contains 1, 2, 3. So this is important, the place that the user is going to go to after logging in. Then we have the test scenario or the test suite, which this test case belongs to. So this test case will not be floating in the air, okay? It will be inside a folder or inside a section, which is the module or the test suite, which is in this case login. We can have a test suite which is called login, or we can have more than one test suite, one for login with Facebook, one for login with Gmail, one for login using username. It depends on the size of the project. If the project is small, we can add all the login test cases inside one test suite. If we have a big project, we can divide them into more than one test suite. Then we have the test environment. And when we talk about test environment, we mean 3 things: the hardware, the software, and the network, okay? So for example, what is the device that I will test this test case on? So for the hardware, we can say, okay, we need an Intel i9 processor. So this is hardware, okay? We need a mobile with 4 GB RAM, if this is a game, for example. So this is hardware, okay? We need a device or a mobile with 7-inch screen, or 21-inch screen or 55-inch screen if this is like YouTube on a TV. So all of this is hardware. On the other hand, we have software. And in software, we have many things like the operating system, Windows 10, Windows 9, or Windows 8, okay, Windows 10 Pro. On Android, we can say Android 8.1, Android 9, Android 10. It depends on the requirements, iOS 13, and so on. So this is the software. Also, we have the network. So should this test case be executed on Wi-Fi or mobile data? And if it will be executed on mobile data, is it a smooth network or the connection is dropped many times? So for example, if I'm playing an online game like Call of Duty or FIFA, in this case we use Wi-Fi. No one plays PlayStation 4, I'm talking about PlayStation. In this case, no one will use the PlayStation network for online gaming using mobile data. But if you are using a mobile phone or for the same game, you might be using the mobile data. In Uber, for example, most of people use mobile data, not Wi-Fi, because you use it while you are walking in the street. So this is an example: Windows 10, Chrome Wi-Fi, or Samsung Galaxy Note 10, Android 10, 4G network, or iPhone 11, iOS 13, and 5G network. Okay, you might specify the environment, especially in mobile applications. In web applications like websites, you can execute the test case on any browser and any operating system. It is the same. But in mobile devices, the application might work smoothly on Android 9, but when you migrate it to Android 10, it doesn't work fine. So that's why we need to allocate our test cases. Some of them are executed on Android, some on iOS, on different versions and different screen sizes. Then we have the actual result. Beginning from the actual result, the next fields are filled after executing the test case. So all what we talked about earlier can be executed while designing the test case before the software is ready. The title, okay, the precondition, the steps, the expected result, the test scenario or the test environment. You can write them on your keyboard and the application is not ready. But don't ever write an actual result before executing the test case. So here, an important note, never fill the actual result field until you execute the test case. So for example, in my company, when we need to hire someone and we give him an assignment, okay, you need to write some test cases for the login functionality of Facebook or anything. And he delivers the assignment, and inside the assignment we found him, he wrote the actual result. Okay, why did you fill the actual result? No, you should write the field and leave it empty. Why? Because you didn't execute the test case. We asked you to design the test case. And that's what will happen in the assignments that we talk about, okay? You just write a field that's called the actual result and you leave it empty. Then we have the status of the test case. And we have major 4 status. We have more, but these are the most important. The first is new or ready to test. So when you design the test case, when you write it, it is new or it is ready to test, okay? It is not executed. So this is the default state of the test case. Then we have pass. So after executing the test case, if the actual result is like the expected result, we say, okay, this test case has passed. Then we have failed test case. So if the actual result is different than the expected result, so this test case is considered as failed. Then we have blocked or skipped test case. And this is different from failed test case, and many people understand them wrong, okay? So blocked or skipped test case is a test case that you cannot execute. What does this mean? For example, I have an application and the registration functionality is not working, okay? So when I execute the registration test cases, I will say, okay, the registration test case has failed, okay, because it doesn't work. But the login test case is blocked or skipped. Why? Because I'm not able to test it. Why I'm not able to test the login functionality? Because it depends on the registration functionality. So I will not say, okay, the registration has failed, login has failed, adding items to cart has failed, checkout has failed. No, only the registration has failed, and all other functionalities that depend on registration can be considered as blocked or skipped. Until the developer solves the problem in the registration, then we can say, okay, the login passed or failed. So this is the status of the test case. So this is an example of a test case. Like you see, we have the title, login with a valid username and password, precondition, you are already registered, the test steps, expected result, the test suite, the environment, actual result. So here, for example, the actual result I wrote same as expected. So what happened is what we expected, and in this case, this test case has paused. Okay, so this is a template test case that is written on Google Sheets or Word or Excel or anything. But we need to begin writing test cases using a tool, that's first, and writing test cases for more than one scenarios. So that's what we are going to do in next videos. We will think of a scenario, for example, registration or login, and then write test cases for it.